Rev up your engine. Okay, is it possible to get an F-250 that actually runs decently for a couple $1,000s used? Here's living proof. Now, yeah, it's gonna have a few dings, bent parts. Yeah, the paint's not gonna be perfect. Still pretty solid with all the tool sides on, built in. There's a reasonable amount of money just there. And a big serious bumper. Nice big bed. Has dual gas tanks. Now you can get a brand new one of these with this Redding body for $58,000. They're still making these things. And yeah, this is an old truck. It's a 1996. Crank her up. You can hear that V8. Of course, it's a V8 engine, but it's a 5.8 liter 351 Windsor, made in Windsor, Ontario. They are excellent engines. Back in the day, everybody wanted these engines to put in their Mustangs to soup up. The 351 Windsor has a place in history, and they can last forever. And yes, they are incredible gas hogs. You got a big old F-250 work truck, you're carrying tools, you're not gonna get gas mileage. You wanna get big gas mileage? Go buy a new one. It's still not gonna get the great gas mileage either. They're big, heavy trucks. Turn the key on, and baby's got 269,000, closing in on 300,000 miles. Sure, the seat's got holes down to the foam. The dash is cracked. It only has crank windows, but they still crank. Has the cool vents though, like I grew up with as a kid. But now comes the big question, does the AC still work? Well, let's turn it on. Man, it's freezing cold. The compressor. It's spinning, and more importantly, it's not making any odd AC compressor noises. It's still in really good shape. Now the engine, you can hear it's got a couple exhaust leaks. You're gonna expect this on a truck. A lot of guys won't even fix them. But that cold AC, I am impressed. After all, this is a 1997 F-250. When they say heavy duty, they mean it. Hey, it took this giant bash and it's still rolling down the road. It just looks like it's making kind of a grimace. And as we go underneath, so high you don't need a jack on this baby, you got surface rust on the frame. Frame is still rock solid. And sure, the exhaust system after the catalytic converter is now completely gone. You can hook the muffler that fell off back on if you want. Here's gas tank number 1. And as we go to the back, here's gas tank number 2. And again, you see superficial rust, but the metal's still solid as can be. They used to build them like rock. To me, it looks like it's still the original differential, and it works perfectly fine. There's no noise from the pinion gears inside. The bearings are fine, no humming. These things were solid built back in 1997. These beefy leaf springs, they're still in good shape, although they have superficial rust. This thing's still set up to carry a lot of weight. It still has the original double-walled exhaust coming off the engine. Look how they built them. This thing hasn't rusted. It's still solid after all those years. Gigantic disc brakes in the front. This is just rear wheel drive. The front wheels just roll down the road. It's not 4x4. Now I did notice when driving it, it shifts a little bit odd. Now with this mileage, truthfully, that's generally the lifespan of the transmissions in these things. It goes, but getting a little bit funky. So I'm going to try a trick I've tried for years. Now I can tell the fluid's just been changed because it's got a new gasket in the bottom and the fluid's clean. But I'm going to try an old trick. My little vacuum pump's handy. I just stick it in and suck a quart out. Down in the transmission check tube. It's at the bottom. Now pull a little bottom out. We'll suck a quart of fluid out. Here it comes. You can see the fluid's flowing in now. We'll pump out about a quart. Okay, we pumped out as much as we needed to. Now, we're going to put in a Lucas stop slip. This stuff is often amazing for American vehicles. We'll just take our pump hose out. You knew it was going to squirt me in the face, right? Stick a funnel in, pour the whole bottle in. Now this stuff is really thick. It's sealed so it doesn't go bad. You gotta rip the seal off, which of course doesn't want to come off. That's always how it goes. They seal them too sealed. There we go, finally. Now we just pour the whole bottle in. This stuff is thick, so it can take some time to pour the whole bottle in. Tough and better to let it run as you add it, and it'll go in faster. And if you run out of patience, you can heat this up in a pan of boiling water. It'll get thinner and pour faster. That's what I do in the winter. This is going slow enough. I hate to see what it's like in January or February. But eventually the bottle's empty. We'll take it for a spin. There we go. The seatbelts still work. Does the horn blow? Amazing. Not the typical Ford. You can hear the power steering groan. They all groan on these. There it goes groaning away. An old truck, it has a lot of rattles, but it still goes down the road. Take it out in the country here a little. at Windsor. Mind you, the front end needs some work. It pulls to the left, and the tires are all just junk. They dry rotted, they're worn unevenly. I'd start with new tires and an alignment and see where that goes. But the engine and tranny are still good. They may be old, but it still rumbles down the road. And I do have to say, I'm absolutely amazed how much smoother it shifts once I put that Lucas stop slip in. A lot of times you gotta wait till 250 to 300 miles of driving, but this one, sheesh, I put it in, it's not slipping anymore. Yeah, it makes a lot of rattling noise because the front tires are worn out, but it's running a nice temperature, not getting hot, and yeah, the check engine light's on. Half of that's because part of the exhaust system isn't even there anymore, but it still runs good. Now sure, the turn signals don't work anymore, and the muffler fell off, but it's a clean break, and you can see somebody already welded one piece on. You can always weld another one on. But heck, the AC still works. It's still a pretty darn good old work truck that you could put a little time and energy in and have a really reliable truck. So don't poo-poo and all the F-250 heavy duty. And here's some bonus questions and answers. Town Guy 85 says, I got a 2001 Toyota Corolla with 80,000 miles that has an oil leak. It only has 80,000 miles. Mechanic said it's a blown head gasket. It's only leaking on the outside. It doesn't have milking oil or leaking antifreeze or overheating. The timing chain cover does often leak a little bit on those. And I've had Toyota dealers try to sell it to people. I tell people, don't waste your money. You're only losing a tiny amount of oil. Just check the oil every once in a while. You know how many drips it takes to make a quart of oil? It's like 5 or 10 football fields worth of drips to do 1 quart of oil. So to check you out. But I've had customers drive like that for 10 years after they started leaking, and they still drove down the road perfectly fine. It's not losing coolant. It's not overheating. And maybe you got to add a little oil every once in a while. Leave it alone. I wouldn't even do the timing chain cover, tell you the truth. I've had so many customers driving that way. It seeps and it makes it look oily. Big deal. It's an old car. You're going to get little drips or little grease stains and stuff. What the heck? Live with it. Don't worry about it. But mechanics are always trying to sell people things. You're not having any problems. Don't waste your money on that. Personally, I've never seen a head gasket go out on a Toyota Corolla at 80,000 miles anyway. I have never, ever seen that. You want to find out exactly where it's coming from, do my video. Finding the source of car leak, Scotty. You just use ultraviolet leak test kit, and then the dye comes out exactly where the leak is, and you can pinpoint it real easy. Mr. Cat says, AARP is ripping off seniors. Scotty, I'm a member of AARP, and they endorse a transportation program called Ride at 50 Plus by Phoenix Mobility, which is supposed to give you AARP discounts. One of the options it displays is Lyft. Looked at it, and the ride was $15.02. Booked through the Lyft app. But then I looked at Lyft myself and it was only $11.96. I did several more price checks and Ride 50 Lyft was always more than regular. How hypocritical is it that our AARP supports a program, takes a basic service, and upcharges it for seniors? Well, yeah, that's obviously not a fair deal. The problem is these companies get involved with business deals. They want to make a profit, so they start marking things up. This is why you have to check absolutely everything today when you buy something. Don't think that because you go to a discount store, you're getting a discount price. That's not true at all. Years ago, I went to a Costco when they started having them in Houston, right? And I looked at prices, and I found out that they had a car jack for working on cars, right? And I thought, man, that thing's overpriced. So it was like $120. I looked at Harbor Freight Tools that had the same exact jack, and it was $40 cheaper. You'd think Costco's going to give you the best deal? No. They have lost leaders to get you in the store, like 5,000 rolls of toilet paper for $9.99, right? Who wants to buy 5,000 rolls of it anyways? But it doesn't mean you're going to get a deal just because it's a supposed discount store. And right there, I mean, that's a raw deal. Don't use the service. You found out they're always ripping you off, so the heck with that service, go directly to Lyft. That's why you got to check prices. You got to check them all the time because it's always changing. I mean, sometimes I think, hey, well, they sell good oil at a good price. I get my phone out and I check prices. If I can find them cheaper, you can't argue that. I personally like Amazon. I plan ahead. Say I'm going to buy oil filters and oil. I buy a few sets of gallons of oil and 4 or 5 oil filters. I go on Amazon, find the best price for the quality parts I want, have them sent to me, and I leave them in the garage and use them when I want. It's a lot better to plan ahead. Now, you planned ahead and found out that this service doesn't work. Yes, don't use it. Use the Lyft itself. It makes sense, but you got to check. You can't trust anybody these days. It's just how it goes. Everybody's out to make a buck. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.